and welcome to another edition of Radical Grace Radio.
I'm Pastor Gary Held.
And my name is Matthew Pancake, and this is episode 830. I wasn't actually promising anything last week. I realized whenever I went back and I listened to our show last week, and I kind of made a big deal out of we're almost to 830, as though like 830 meant something more than just doing what we normally do. And right. I'm like, well, hopefully nobody thought that we were trying to push something for 8:30, but it is another opportunity to help people understand what Lutherans mean whenever we talk about the gospel, and specifically like a division of law and gospel, or rightly dividing the word of God. I mean, that is where suddenly that statement, which is a biblical statement, suddenly meant something more to me than just, what do they mean by that?
It means different things in different churches. That's interesting. It's like that there are churches that will say, no, that's not between, that is all about simply distinguishing between what is pertaining to Old Testament Israel, what's pertaining to the church, but that's their explanation for what it means to rightly divide. Right. And of course, what we're doing is saying, no, the law is a very different opportunity to hear God speaking in a kind of, the law is not subtle, and it's not gentle. It's not supposed to be, and it's not comforting, but the law isn't the final word, right? There's the gospel. Right. And that's why we want people to hear the gospel and recognize that God's word for us it's like I said, last night to the people who came to my adult instruction class, God is for us, and the rhetorical question that St. Paul raises in Romans is, if God is for us, who can be against us?
Yeah. Who?
Right. Like, well, it's a rhetorical question because it expects an answer. There's nobody who can be against. No, it doesn't matter. Once God is for you, it doesn't matter who's against you. Right. But the fact that he is for us, and by for us, I don't just mean us, us Lutherans. I don't even just mean us Christians. Although you could start asking, well, how do we understand this? Well, he seems to be for us fallen human beings, and he has found this way of sharing his love with us, his ability to transform us. That's what he's sharing with humanity. Now, there's a section of humanity that doesn't want to have anything to do with it. Those would be people who hear what we're saying, but they don't believe it. Right.
Right.
They hear it, but they don't believe it. So,
right. Well, you don't have to believe what we're about to do. Actually, I guess you do, because what we do next is the Christian news roll. I've been thinking about for years, like, is that really the right name for what we're doing here? Because kind of what we're doing is we're reading what Christians think of as important news, but showing how the gospel might give you a different way of thinking about those things. Well, the mind of Christ, for instance.
We're reacting to the stories. We do. Yeah. We usually go back over them and then add some of our reaction. Right. And hopefully our reaction demonstrates a kind of Christian mature outlook, as opposed to just, I'd like that on my best days. That's probably what I'm trying to demonstrate. Hopefully it comes across, but
yeah. Yeah, so let's go ahead and do that thing called the Christian News Roll. Okay, just for information purposes, I'm not trying to put a spin on this. You guys can decide what you think of it. Members of Congress are expressing concerns about reauthorizing Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. People say FISA all the time. That's what it's referring to. This section was initially created to target terrorists, but is now being questioned for its use in spying on American citizens. And we're not talking about an abstract possibility anymore. Section 702 enables government agencies to collect specific information for counterterrorism efforts, but some argue that it violates civil liberties. We're about to find out how. As the deadline approaches to renew this, they have to do this from time to time. Ohio Representative Jim Jordan has stressed the importance of reforming FISA and making it a priority for the current Congress. So here's how all of this problem is actually working. Telecom companies collect data from phone and internet use. The raw, unredacted information goes into a National Security Agency database. And approximately 10,000 people at the U.S. Justice Department are able to query that database. So what's been happening is the FBI has been misusing warrantless search powers against U.S. citizens over 278,000 times yearly. This was brought out in court here recently. The queries include incidents related to protests and were often performed without proper authorization. And the scale of the issue becomes apparent as approximately 10,000 individuals within the U.S. State Department can access the database, and a concerning 30% of 3.4 million queries per year, and specifically in 2021, were in error. And that raises questions about privacy and government surveillance. Now, Congress is grappling with this as a problem, and differing perspectives emerge on balancing national security needs with protecting individual rights. And one way that they might go about it is to just not renew it at all. So that's what we'll talk about in a little bit. There's, there's just some things in there that are just, it disturbs me because we've never had this kind of technology before. People in power have it, and they're obviously misusing it. So,
well, the number 4 story, we're going to visit again a group that we've mentioned on this show before.
Like I've said,
come up periodically
for a reason.
Yep, they come up periodically. It's time for another chance to revisit the Satanic Temple. Okay, so the story is a recent lawsuit filed by the Satanic Temple against pro-life laws in Texas. Their lawsuit was dismissed by a federal judge. Now, Judge Charles Eskridge of the Southern District Court of Texas ruled that TST, that's the abbreviation for the Satanic Temple, TST. They ruled that TST and an anonymous member of their group identified as Ann Doe, cute, huh? Did not provide enough factual information or evidence to support their claims that the state's abortion restrictions violated their freedom of religion under the First Amendment. Now, you're going to love this.
Yeah.
The lawsuit filed in 2021 and then amended multiple times accused Texas Health and Human Services Commission's Executive Commissioner Cecil Young of interfering with their ritual. That is the Satanic Temple, is claiming that the enforcing the statutes are enforcing another religion hindered their own congregants from practicing quote unquote ritual abortions. Okay. Before everybody, I know we usually save this up for later, but before everybody loses their mind, ritual abortion, think of this as they're trolling. Okay.
They're not really doing this.
These are the trolls who are bringing a lawsuit. Okay. However, picking up the story again, lawyers for Ms. Young argued that it was unclear what, if anything, she had done to hinder their practice. Judge Eskridge cited the complaint as a, quote, spare and unusually cryptic. And he wrote, a third amended complaint is willfully inadequate and deficient. It fails for jurisdictional reasons and would also likely fail for insufficient pleading of the merits. All the lawyers can explain what that means. So he says plaintiffs will not be given leave to replead. Okay. After being dismissed, Lucian Greaves, a co-founder and spokesperson of TST, expressed disappointment with the judge's ruling.
Really? He's disappointed?
He called it a, quote, total abdication of his duties as a neutral adjudicator of the law. And that's despite the setback, TST is determined that they're going to appeal the decision. They are confident that a higher court will recognize this judge's incompetence. Now, this is not the first TST time claim that abortion bans violate their religious freedom. See, they got religion on their side. Previously, they had announced plans to operate a telehealth abortion clinic in New Mexico. Its aim was to protect its members' quote bodily autonomy and uphold their right to perform the religious abortion ritual, close quote.
They were going to do it over Zoom.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Whatever it was that they're, see,
telehealth.
That's what, yeah, right. See, that's what's missing from the 3 times amended complaint. Is like, so how is this a problem? I mean, can you tell us anything about the ritual? Well, no, because apparently it's secret,
super secret,
or something. It's really strange. So what they meant was, it said you have a lawyer explain what insufficient pleading of the merits. It's basically, once you get over jurisdictional problems, which in the case of like since the Supreme Court struck down abortion nationwide, it's across states. So it's like, okay, so you're bringing this, and we're not exactly sure if you should be suing in Texas or not. So we got to get over that, and then afterwards, you actually have to have a case to plead.
Let's come back to it.
So
let's come back.
Okay, a couple updates coming up. In the number 3 story, Angel Studios announced Wednesday that the movie Sound of Freedom has broken records, and it actually has, and will soon be released in more than 20 international markets. It hasn't been in any international markets yet. It's only been in the United States. Despite its success in the United States, the film continues to gain momentum. Its success, it's outpacing itself. It's a sleeper hit, I guess you could call it. This faith-based movie secured the number 3 spot again at the box office over this past weekend, and has earned over $125 million in total gross as of Monday. It's more than that now. I actually forgot to look this morning. It will expand to South Africa on August 18th, and then to Australia and New Zealand on August 24th. And on August 31st, it will launch to 17 other countries, including Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Belize, Panama, Colombia, Venezuela, Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, Bolivia, Chile, Peru, Ecuador, and Costa Rica. And no, I'm not trying to show off. The film's release schedule continues with a launch in the United Kingdom and Ireland on September 1st, and in Spain on October 11th. The movie will be expanding into 23 countries, bringing its message to audiences around the world. And hopefully what that does is that lights a fire under some people to say, yeah, if this is going on, this kind of thing that's portrayed in the movie, maybe we could do something about it.
Okay, so this number 2 story is revisiting a story that we had talked about previously. So a Florida man and 3 of his sons were convicted on federal fraud at charges on Wednesday for their scheme to dupe consumers into purchasing more than $1 million worth of what they're calling a miracle mineral solution. That's through a fake online church that markets this, and they advertise their miracle mineral solution, or MMS for short. It sounds like TST, but MMS, and they claim that it's to be able to cure ailments, including COVID-19 and even cancer, when in reality, their product was nothing more than a powerful bleach, and that was actually poisonous when ingested. Right. So the 4 individuals who claimed to be church leaders were convicted Wednesday on July 26th for running a fraudulent organization and selling a dangerous miracle cure disguised as a religious sacrament. The Grennan family, consisting of Mark Grennan, he's 65, and his adult sons, his sons Jonathan, 37, and Joseph and Jordan, they're all 30 and 29 respectively, and they were declared guilty after more than 2 years after their initial indictment in 2021. Now, the group was operating under the name Genesis 2.
What happened to Genesis 1?
Yeah, I don't know. Genesis 2, Church of Health and Healing. But they were accused of using religion as a means to sell their product. the MMS, remember that stands for Miracle Mineral Solution, which they claimed could cure 95% of known illnesses. Oh, okay. So, however, the prosecutors labeled them as con men and snake oil salesmen preying on people's vulnerabilities in order to make a profit. So, MMS described in their information as a chemical solution containing sodium chloride
This is
and
the real thing. That's what that is.
and water.
Yeah.
Okay, actually transforms into bleach when ingested.
Right.
The court was shown also evidence of unsanitary conditions in the facility where this dangerous concoction was produced, and including rodent droppings. And then, they want to let the jurors know what this product is. So they have samples, and the jurors, they're recoiling from the bottles of the product because they're asked to smell the product. And all these were gathered from an undercover federal agent. Anyway, Mark Grennan argued in an interview with Natural News back in 2020 that his family has been fighting with federal authorities about their support for MMS for 10 years, but admitted things only escalated when the Food and Drug Administration sent a warning to stop distributing their MMS sacraments. And now their sentencing is scheduled for October 6th. There you go. The FDA just getting involved, stomping on religious people, their
really.
sacrament, the holy bleach of MMS or whatever.
Right. Okay. Now, this number one story sounds like it's serious, but at the same time, somebody just doesn't get what AI is. So, Lieutenant General Richard G. Moore Jr., the U.S. Air Force Deputy Chief of Staff for Plans and Programs, has shed light on the potential future deployment of AI-controlled weapons equipped with Judeo-Christian value systems.
Really?
Right.
I didn't know AIs could be Christian, but keep going.
Well, that's where we're headed here. So known as lethal autonomous weapon systems. And this is kind of the way it read in the reports that I was reading. So, they Judeo-Christian and lethal are like together. So these advanced weapon systems utilize sensor suites and computer algorithms to autonomously identify and engage targets without requiring direct human control. While not currently operational, Deputy Secretary of Defense Kathleen Hicks has expressed concerns about such technology's development and ethical implications. The mounting concern within the global community regarding laws has resulted in laws, that's what they call it, is resulted in demands for stringent regulations and even complete prohibition of their use. To address these concerns, General Moore emphasized the Defense Department's 2024 budget will prioritize the creation of ethical AI. He identified three main areas of concentration: defining acceptable AI actions, comprehending the algorithm decision-making process, good luck with that one, and establishing a level of trust in AI systems. Good luck with that one. The Congressional Research Service noted that while laws aren't in widespread development yet, they said this: it is believed that they would enable military operations and communications degraded or denied environments in which traditional systems may not be able to operate. The development of ethical AI is expected to be a significant feature in the Defense Department's budget in 2024. And that is the end of the Christian News Roll.
So that story came out of the Christian Post.
Yeah, it came out of the Christian Post, and this was a report on a news conference. They were standing in front of reporters talking about this thing, and so they're going to inculcate somehow a Judeo-Christian value system into lethal AI, and they said all of this with a straight face. And
okay, I mean, so I'm assuming the reason that the Post picked this up is because the idea is that you need if you're going to have weapons like this, you want them to be used ethically, I guess. And so,
Mm-hmm.
well, so what kind of ethics do we want to have? Well, I think, Judeo-Christian ethics. That's what we're going to hardwire into this to this AI. Yeah, like you say, they don't understand how AI works. Not that any of us really do, but I can sure tell you how it doesn't work. So
Mm-hmm.
you can't lead the AI first to the anxious bench, and then once they're really quite contrite over you know sinfulness, then get them born again. You know, and you think, well, okay, yeah, but they can be given a value system,
I
sort of.
suppose.
I mean,
I,
you can tell it's an AI is going to look at this as a problem where how do you've got all these parameters, and how do you maximize certain things and minimize others? So maybe you want to maximize the effectiveness of your weapon but minimize the collateral damage. Sounds like a good idea. But if that's what they mean by putting ethical values, value system, into the AI, I guess that's a good thing,
mm-hmm.
rather than just saying, who cares who gets blown up as long as it's, you know, or burned to, crispy critters or whatever the weapon does. I
Mm-hmm.
automatically assumed, that these laws, lethal autonomous weapon systems, I just thought, well, okay, this is probably drones. And it probably is. But, why couldn't it be space lasers or
Right.
robot soldiers or something, who knows what it would be. So,
Right. See, here's the thing: is like they said in here, it is believed they would enable military operations in communications degraded or denied environments. Okay, so you're going to send them into this place where there's no internet, there's no communications, whatever. So they disappear into there and they operate all on their own.
uh-huh.
Wow. I mean, my imagination just lights up with like possibilities of what that might look like
little
after the fact.
little visions of Terminator.
Just a little bit, because it's like, oh well, the military's good at covering up when those things happen anyway. So now
Yeah.
see now it's going to be an odd connection, but this is kind of an odd story. So Isaac Asimov actually solved this problem for us a long time ago.
Three laws of robotics.
Right. So, I have him right here. And this actually runs counter to him being military at all. A robot may not injure a human being or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm. Okay, the laws can't exist if we're actually going to use that. And these are written like a programmer would write them. A robot must obey orders given it by human beings, except where such orders would conflict with the first law. Right? And the robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second law. It's almost like a programmer wrote those. And it's
Well,
like, so put that into your system and smoke it. Because, do
well,
you really want these things hurting people?
you don't wind up with a weapon then.
I
I mean,
know.
that's the whole point is
I know.
you just want to be selective about who you're hurting, because
Yeah.
we're
And you're going to use
Christian about it.
Judeo-Christian values to figure that out.
Yeah, I know. I know.
They need
So
they need some miracle mineral solution or something.
no, 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 no. My goodness gracious. I love it how, if this was just it is just a fraudulent marketing system to, push a product that actually injures people and doesn't do what it claims. But the fact that they're looking to get some cover for what they're doing
Yeah.
by claiming their organization as a church and claiming this stuff that you have to buy is a sacrament, it's
Yeah,
just
they're not, doing a fast shuffle here at all. That's
no,
that's
it's
no.
just straight up,
Yeah. Yeah, this
hey,
is all on the
it's
up
a
and up.
sacrament. If I say it's a sacrament, I can't help it that you don't believe.
Well, it's like, I mean, the reason why I coupled these together is because, these are in here and I gave them both to you is because here's an organization, whether it's the church, the TST,
Right.
the Satanic Temple, or it's them. They're just making a claim. So, well, we have a ritual. Oh, you do? It's like, and we want to sue over it. Okay, so what is it? Well, it's secret, or whatever it is that their thing is. Why they won't give any like details about what's supposed to go on with it. It's like, so that gets thrown out of court, and these guys get prosecuted because, hello, the people that you're dealing with aren't really dumb. The judges aren't actually dumb. In fact, they can get to a point where they tell you that, like, dismissed with prejudice, get out of here.
I don't want this to be exactly made to equal one another, because I was serious when I said that the Satanic Temple, no, that's like they are actively trying to be trolls. Okay. And if they can figure out a way to stick it to the pro-life movement and the Texas legislature and anybody else that, is for, well, a certain viewpoint, this is, you run into trolls online. It's the same thing, except now they're in court doing this. Mm-hmm. Whereas the other group, perhaps is even worse. They're actually hurting people and they are committing fraud. Like they're taking the money knowing that people are not getting what they thought they were getting. Now you could say
even getting better.
You could say, but those people who would buy a product like that, even, these are the stupid people, right? Well, and so they deserve to get what they, what happens to them. And no, we have laws in this country that, yes, they'll even protect the stupid people from being.
Well, it isn't even stupid. It's like, okay, someone's got cancer. Let's say they got stage 4 cancer. They're desperate. This guy says this will cure it. Like that. I don't know how stupid.
They're gullible.
Yeah. Not only you should call someone who's desperate stupid. It's like, I mean, the reason that I say that is because I know someone that got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And it's like,
I do too.
There's no way I would call them stupid because they thought, well, I'm going to try this cure. It's like, I don't know that I would do that. I mean, even this one, because my ire would not be directed at them. It would be directed at the people that said that this would actually cure it.
Right.
So
right.
It's like, I'm not trying to like take you to task over that. It's just that it isn't just like meant to protect, even stupid people. It's like, man, when people are up against it and like, 3 members of your family have COVID. One of them's in the hospital dying. By the way, this guy says that this will cure COVID.
No, and nothing the doctors are giving them is helping.
Right.
So the idea is almost, what have I got to lose?
Yeah. This is people, by
the way, no. So for the listeners, what we're doing right now, you and I, as we go through, kind of a menagerie of stories.
Right.
Okay. We don't claim to be the smartest guys in the whole room. Well, kind of. I'm alone in this room, and as are you. So I guess I am, but I'm also the dumbest guy in the room. That's the problem with that. Anyway, the deal is that that's what I said about trying to look at these stories and bring at least, or attempt to bring, some Christian thinking to this. So first of all, it has to qualify as thinking. I mean, I got to actually give it some thought about what this is all saying and what it means. And like, so when I was saying even the stupid people are being protected, and then you did something, I'm just knowing that everybody heard you say this, is that you kind of came a little bit to their defense. So saying, no, wait a minute, they're really up against the wall. And that was, well, that's a very empathetic way of thinking about why somebody would do or act that way in the circumstances. And, and that's a good point. And so, well, Christians ought to have some empathy for what other people are going through. Now, we don't have the corner on the market. There are other people who are not Christians and they can be empathetic too. But at least if you want to talk about what we try to do, why this exercise, this pointless, tedious exercise every week of doing this so-called Christian news roll. Well, we're trying to at least look at the story and say, here's what's interesting about it. And, maybe how it would affect people. And if it's going to have, stories that clearly are about people getting hurt or taken advantage of, or some cases killed,
Yeah.
you should have a certain kind of outrage about that. You should have a certain kind of outrage about, should the federal government, even if they are allegedly keeping us safe from terrorists, maybe they are, but should they be hoovering up all the data from all the phone calls and all the internet searches that all the Americans make? It's
and the thing that I want to point out to people, just so that they know, and we'll go to the other side of the break in just a second, is that 278,000 times in 1 year, people got onto what amounts to a search engine and put in people's names and things like that. And anytime it comes up, they're looking at it, and they may or may not have any authority to be looking at it. That's what's happening. And this came out in a court proceeding. So that's what's happening. And my thought is like, this stuff was put in place after 9/11, and it was supposed to sunset at some point. We're 22 years past, and we're still doing this, and it's being abused now. So I think we should stop, but there are people that love it, so they want to try and reform it. I think they should reform it right out the window. That's defenestration. Here, this law is gone. That's what ought to happen. But anyway, so what are we going to do on the other side of the break?
Well, I want to follow up a little bit with what we began talking about last week, because I'm still very happy and delighted about having a good discussion in my adult instruction class. In fact, a couple more people came last night than was there the week before, and so there were some points where we were having some really good discussion. I'm not going to go into all the specifics because I'm not trying to do a recap of it, but it may be some of the things that we talked about in the class will be of interest to our listeners, who are following along at home. Play it along at home.
All right.
Sure.
Well, get ready to play along with us on the other side of the break. When we come back, stick with us.